Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And we got some stuff to talk about astrologically. We got Venus conjuncting Eris in Aries, which nobody mentioned. And it almost went under the radar with everything that Mercury's been doing. And then we got Mercury stationing to go direct. And Sedna ingressing into Gemini. And so let's begin with Venus. So Venus and Eris is giving voice to the misrepresented. Venus in Aries is giving voice to those who are not included, and is the marginalized voice. It's also the voice of people whose identity is kind of not being accepted, and that goes from identity politics to pronouns and to people who were not included in general. Mars is in Pisces, so we get to hear the voices. I think the rise of Jaguar Wright and the interview she was giving, kind of like again being broadcasted yesterday. I think there was another episode, is one of these things, because Pisces Venus is kind of like the voice when you have a combat. Okay, the veterans of the music industry. So Jaguar Wright is absolutely one of them, and she's also very algol energy. So it's kind of like the person who's been speaking wasn't believed, and now with Venus in Andromeda conjuncting Aries, gets to be re-included, gets to be appreciated, and gets the limelight as well, for not just spilling the tea, but basically addressing that which nobody had the courage to address. And here we get a little bit of the higher octave of Eris, because Eris was the Trojan horse. She was the one that created chaos because she was not included. But Eris, on the higher octave, when Eris is included or is reconciled, is that which brings uniqueness to the discourse. Is the one that has the courage to spill all the tea. Is the one that has the courage to say everything to everyone. That's why she was not included for some. Okay? So it's not like the fool, which can be like it can, because the fool is accepted into the kingdom. Eris is the fool that is rejected. So think about even the satyr that is accepted versus the satyr that is rejected. What can you not do satire about? Okay, for example, when I was doing sugar-free lemonade, I was writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. Nobody could do anything because it was satirical. Things got bad when I did write and mention the army. I was blocked from like the huge group of the academia. So you understood what you cannot do. And it was a side thing too. Because army is just one study case. There's academia, there's army, there's private sector, there's public sector. Everyone's at it, as the song goes. So it's with Aries, it's kind of like, what can you not do satire about? And it's also in Aries sign, so military. But here, I think in Pisces is more like medical warfare. People are going to say stuff, especially with this Mercury retrograde. And now we go into the second topic, which is Mercury turning direct. And the way I introduced it on Twitter, I said, everything you said, I want you to think about everything you said when Mercury was retrograde. Again, it was a very lengthy one, it's a very ecliptic one. And I want you to say it again with your chest. Because this Mercury retrograde, truth was spilling. Again, it was not tea was spilling, truth was spilling. All you gotta do is say it again with your chest. It's really not about taking back what you said. But sometimes with this Mercury retrograde, and I can say my personal experience, because I'm doing this podcast and When I do a reading, when I look at a chart, things come out of me, okay? I see things and I say things. So there are some things that they said, and I was like, oh my God, was I being too harsh with this person? Or I just blurted out something that I don't know, like maybe it was, maybe bringing this up was too much. Now when I think back, I'm like, oh my God, thank God I did it. This needs to be addressed. Okay, this needs to be addressed. And I think that we will be having more of this. Kind of say that thing with your chest. And I think it needs to be. For most of you, this is what it is. This is what this Mercury shade period is going to be about, because you are readdressing this after the full moon in Scorpio, which meant that you already saw how things are interlinked. You also have very likely the necessary compassion to address things, just because you understand things deeper, so you're more compassionate. I was just watching Annika Luca's podcast, and finally she has a podcast, which basically started in April 2023, so she will be celebrating a year on April, I think, 7th, of having her own podcast. And really discussing the fact that, yes, the people that did that abuse in children, they should not be like running our countries, running our politics. But it's even deeper, because it's not just the politicians, the people who give them, who assign them the roles, basically. It is also the understanding that, we are people, and it's a depth that you really need to listen to SRA survivors to understand. And I think that a lot of you who are listening to me have either you or somebody you know that went through such a thing. Maybe you don't have the name. When I say satanic ritual abuse, I don't mean the Satan of Saturn. For example, I had a student that was Satanist, but it was not at all like abusing children and stuff. It was actually about seeing Saturn as karma, and Saturn is exalted in Libra. And she was thinking about justice and bringing justice. Okay, it's the same way people think about Lucifer in a way. So when I say satanic ritual abuse, I don't mean that all people who are satanistic or whatever. I mean that those particular ritual abuse, okay, that abuse that was ritualistic in nature. Yes, and all type of abuse, like all abuse is horrible. The understanding that this was ritualistic is not about who they were, because it's happening in the church as well, and in synagogues and in mosques, like everywhere. So even the word satanic can be misleading, but the thing is that because it is a ritual, and because they see it as kind of like feeding a certain deity or being or egregore with atrocities, then this makes the strategies and dictates the strategies in a certain way. This also dictates the army strategies, which is why I think the army will rebel around Mars conjunct Rahu. The politics, okay, but the policies, okay, so the policies would not lead to, would not be wars, the continuation of negotiation in other means, as we are politically taught that this is war, but it's actually a satanic, whatever, it's a ritual abuse meant to feed a certain egregore, okay? So that somebody signed with blood that they're gonna make this offering, so that they are accepted into the decision-making elite or group. There's nothing elitistic about this type of, you don't really want to belong to this club, and they will betray you. It's not like there is, because the trust is reliant on betrayal. This offering, so to sagen, is basically, now they trust you, but now they also take you down. And I was thinking, with Mars in Pisces, so it's another tweet that I address here of mine, was that, Joseph Stalin killed all the good doctors, so he had no good doctor. Adolf Hitler had Dr. Mengele, so he killed himself, right? Now, contemporary leaders have to enable, first of all, killing all the good doctors, being silenced, okay? And Bernard Ronald addressed the pandemic thing 6 years ago, okay? So there was a person that, that came out and spoke up. And one by one, what he said is happening. And as well, they have to enable treating people in those atrocities ways. If you look at the WHO, the chart of the WHO, you see so many 22nd degree. It's not a military organization, but you see the 22nd degree of killing and being killed, okay, of combatant, so much coming up, that you're like, is this an organization that meant to heal people or to kill people? And this is the medical welfare stuff. So literally all the leaders that are having to sign with blood or are operating for somebody who signed with blood, and have to make an offering of a genocide with all the atrocities and all the ritualistic abuse. So you understand that it's not even, war as means to settle an argument or stuff like that. No, it's an offering to those beings so that you can make, what you promised with what you sang with blood, to make this come to fruition. And now supposedly but then you are killed. None of these leaders stay. They're being used to make the new order or whatnot and enslave people more, and then they're being discarded. So and this is true that many people of this in these situations, they want to escape the cult. They want to get out, in whichever position. This could be leaders, this could be royal family, this could be all the things that you think are all the people that are put in the position of enslaving you. Many of them just want out. Some of them don't. Some of them want this, but some of them, they just want out. They want out. It's not leading anywhere, and that they are putting these people at the junctures of healing is really something that we all need to address, because I think the generation of, let's say, Anneke Lucas, that was in between wars, had certain healing abilities that provided that now this generation have to offer the healing themselves, because the other generations do not have that. We met these people. Some of us met this satanic ritual at the juncture of therapy. Okay, we didn't have the wording for it. We're just like, what the fuck is going on? Why are they doing this? Because on the one hand, you receive all kinds of information of what is going to be. On the other hand, people literally try to kill you, or recruit you, or it's like, it's not, you don't even understand what, and that's what's up. Okay, so Mars in Pisces is kind of like the medical warfare associated with this. Venus Eris is those people, those voices that you didn't believe being included and reconciled and addressed into the discourse. And Mercury turning direct to say that thing with your chest, because this Mercury retrograde was a lot of truth coming out and a lot of courage to speak up, and now addressing these issues again is going to only emphasize on how true it is. Oh, it's like, it's even more true. It's even more, and again, I constantly mentioned of the time before I wrote Sugar-Free Lemonade. I was writing, and then I was told to shush. I was threatened, basically. And then I wrote Sugar-Free Lemonade, which was a satire. Then I was still threatened. And what would come up is this year's, Flying Bombardier, which is the big deal. this is the big deal. Because it does address the medical welfare, it does address what they do to spies and how they recruit spies. It does address why they kidnap people, how they kidnap people. It does address the connection of drugs to, especially psychiatric drugs, to violence and the way that they try to create terror with that. And this is the real deal. And this is why you would see satanistic rape rituals being endorsed by female puppets at the academia. Okay, it's very likely that many of them don't even want to endorse this. Okay, they're just signed with something, and they're just threatened maybe with rape themselves. And this is why they're saying things and are being put in certain roles and certain positions, where even if you want out, okay, and you talk about the fraternities, which basically mean people being gang raped, and that's how they come to school, and you, the TA, have to teach them. You have a student that tells you, I couldn't file your assignment on time because I went through such and such at the party. Yeah. And then you understand that for anybody to survive anywhere in there, you have to enable human trafficking. Which means that you also enable child trafficking. And this is, and your theories, your paradigms have to endorse this. Okay? That's what's up. Now let's talk about Sedna ingressing into Gemini. And so Sedna is about the themes of betrayal. It's also about amputated limbs, especially the hands or fingers. And Sedna is those themes of betrayal in the themes of Gemini. So with Taurus, it was about sexuality, about fertility, about girls, about sisterhood. So betrayals of women and women. If you saw, the kind of like the 7th of October, so the women that were hurt, they felt like, hey, where are all these organizations for women rights? Where is the Me Too when it came to the women that all their guilt was that they were born at the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong country, and so on. So where were these organizations? This is very much Sedna. It's the themes, is betrayal in the themes of the sign that it's in. And so it was going to be in Gemini for 4 decades, which is not a lot of time actually relative to Sedna. She moves very slowly. And the themes of Gemini are children, trade, nervous system, children, trade, nervous system, children, trade, welfare, children, trade, civil, cities, children, trade, cities, civil war, children, trade, and so on and so forth. Children, trade, games. But Sedna will also expose those themes and unravel those things. Especially, upon her ingress, she trines Pluto. And it's in orb. And this means that those things are, if they're exposed now, they will be even more exposed. Those things that you would think about as kind of like chisbat, or kind of the scary stories, you would understand that those are very real, and the children will speak. So the children will speak is one, but it's also about betrayal in the voices of the children, or betrayal in a nervous system. It's also information, and this is true. And we have to be very cautious here, because remember the times when Rahu was in Gemini. Okay, when everybody wanted stop this spread of misinformation. Who spread the misinformation? The people that wanted to censor the discourse. Okay, stop these fake accounts. Who spread these fake accounts? The people that want you to have a digital ID. And so we're going to be seeing this protection and organized crime type of trickery. And so we are also going to be seeing the addressing of it, because Pluto is exposing these things. It's just exposing something that already was, and Sedna is bringing those themes to be dealt with, but it's also bringing, Sedna in Taurus brought us to Me Too. Sedna in Taurus brought us addressing domestic violence, addressing incest, the connection between incest and suicide. Sedna in Taurus brought us all that. So Sedna in Gemini is going to be addressing these things, but it's unfortunately they're going to happen as well. So I think this is pretty much what I have to discuss right now. And no, it's not all doom and gloom, because when you address these things, you understand that these things happened in the dark, and you understand that what you see as, genocide, they've been practicing this. They've been trying to kidnap. This is the SRAs, this is the MK Ultras. They've been practicing it psychically and not psychically on people, so that when it's time for somebody to sign with blood, they know what to do, because they have the information of how they should perform this New World Order. So, yeah. But those are also the points of interferences. Okay, that you know this, that you know that their trust is reliant on betrayal, and that nearly nobody that is in there actually wants to be there anymore. This is important. This is important. So yes,